Hi there, my name is Dylan. I'm the Assistant Minister of Happy Science, New Jersey.
And my name is Yushi. I'm the Minister of Happy Science, New York Temple.
And today we're going to be talking about this spiritual interview book, Putin's Real Intentions on Ukraine Invasion by Master Riho Okawa. And it's very informational, it's very shocking, but what it does clarifies the world situation so that we can see things from God's eyes and also from heaven's eyes, and so that we can make right judgments about these world politics.
We are living in times of crisis, and of course, as ministers, as a human being, our heartfelt sorrow goes to all the people who are suffering from this war, Ukrainian side and the Russian side, and all of the nations in Europe who are taking care of all these Ukrainians who had to flee its country. So our heartfelt sorrow goes to every single one of them. Also at the same time though, we do not want this situation to get worse. And usually the case is, if you look at history in the world, when people are emotionally one-sided, we lose sight of rationality or rational decision-making and intellectual decision-making skills. It kind of like paralyzes it. Our emotions take over. And that usually does not lead to a calmer, better answer. So as Minister Dylan said earlier, by reading this book, you'll be able to get an insight, a totally new insight we do not see in the Western media.
Yeah, it says right on the back, war is a terrible thing, but we should see if there is justice in it. That comes from the preface. Religion has a tough mission to play because we are, of course, consolidating people's hearts and minds. We are trying to take care of the poor and the people who are beaten down by this world. But sometimes we do see that wars take place, and in order to get them to stop, we need to make tough decisions. We need to see things from another perspective. And right now, the weaker country is the one being invaded, and they're the ones who don't want to ever surrender. And the West is supporting the people in Ukraine, which means continuing the war. It doesn't mean to stop the war.
Exactly.
There's no one who's really standing up and saying, despite what's going on, we need to stop this war and just make a truce. And that would make things much better because human life is very important.
And I think the West is seeing, it's a tough situation where we don't know where to draw the line. Where do we draw the peace treaty? But when you read this book, it is a spiritual interview, a spiritual message of Mr. Putin's guardian spirit, which is like his subconscious, the raw thoughts, the raw intentions that he has, like the true personality of this leader is written in this book. It's a direct access to the true character of this man. So in a way, this is like an ultimate book of journalism. We get to know what Putin is actually thinking. And I'm not going to give away the contents, but it's quite different from what the Western media is portraying about this gentleman. So with this new insight, I'm 100% sure that we'll know when to draw the peace treaty.
Yeah, it's really important that you said that because there's been no interviews with Putin ever since the war started. The Austrian Prime Minister met Putin, but there's been almost no contact with him outside of that. But here we see his true intentions. It's an interview with his true thoughts, and there's no tricks being played. It's not a battle of trying to gain support for one side. It's his frank intentions. And that kind of thing almost never comes out. Master Riho Okawa, he's done so many spiritual messages. He's talked to Kim Jong-un, he's talked to Xi Jinping. Now we get Vladimir Putin's true thoughts, and what a better time. This occurred the morning that the invasion was started. It is a once-in-a-million chance. So by reading this book, you're going to know exactly what we need to do and form an opinion that's very cultivated.
And to be honest with you, as the Minister of Happy Science, or as just like an ordinary citizen of this planet, really praying for peace, turn off the TV, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to say this. There's so much misinformation that is being shown, extremely one-sided, and for a minute, turn it off, read this book, and then turn on the TV again. You'll have a new insight in you. You'll have a new perspective inside of you. You'll see a clearer view of things. And with a clear view of both sides' opinions, that is when we can draw the best conclusion towards peace. Because right now, I don't think a lot of people are thinking things through. If you continue supporting the Western media, what they're saying and what this Biden administration is doing and what Zelensky is doing and giving speeches all over the world, if you just follow their intentions, it's simple to draw a conclusion that they're thinking to oust Putin, assassinate Putin, or even just destroy Russia. That's how extreme things are going. Is that a very humanitarian way of solving this issue? I don't think so. So please, my deepest wish is that if everyone read this book, we will we'll be so much closer to peace. This war can really lead to World War III, and that is the worst case scenario.
Yes. You know, you mentioned about turning off the TV and reading books. Master Okawa came to New York in 2016 and gave a lecture. He said America was lacking a philosophy. And he said that we need to turn off the TV and start reading more books. He recommended his books. This is a great example. If we want to develop a philosophy, we have to have a more articulate and coherent understanding of world affairs. People, I don't want to criticize Americans because I am one, but you know, this kind of social media world has led people's understanding of world affairs to become very shallow.
Very shallow.
It's based on what, 140 characters, or you know, making a 1-minute video about your opinion, or putting a flag in your profile. Everything's losing its meaning.
There was an article saying that people are looking to TikTok to gain information about this war.
Wow. And who funds TikTok? Well, the Chinese military.
Exactly.
So human beings need to develop wisdom through careful contemplation, through racking your brain for wisdom, through all the information and knowledge you've gotten so far. And this builds true character and helps us be more philosophical in life, which leads us to living more altruistic lives.
And you know how you said earlier that we need to have a coherent perspective of world affairs? Ultimately, it leads to God's wisdom. And God's wisdom is very profound, and he looks at this whole planet in a very fair view, and he has such a deep insight to connect the dots of causes and effects, because you know, this whole world is governed by the laws of cause and effect. Now that this Ukrainian war has started, it's not just about Russia and Ukraine. We have to keep an eye on CCP. We have to keep an eye on North Korea. We have to keep an eye on what's going on in the Middle East. Everything is intertwined and interconnected. And to be able to see through all of that, you need a pretty high IQ. And Master Okawa, apparently, he had an IQ of about 250 when he was young. This is really recorded. But not only that, he's like the modern day Messiah, right? He preaches and he gives us the teachings of God's wisdom, something that we've all wanted to hear, wanting to hear right now, especially in these times of chaos. And there's a very profound book called The Laws of Messiah too, which is another book that Master Okawa has published. And this will give you like a bird's eye view of what's going on this whole planet, from like not just now, but trying to see right now from the perspective of the 22nd century, seeing it from the perspective of the past. From the past, present, and future, he draws the conclusion of what really leads to world peace. And in order to truly create a loving planet where every humanity, every ethnicity can support each other, also at the same time stopping evil from coming out. So with this book, we also recommend The Laws of Messiah.
Yes, and one thing that you really said that touched my heart is about the law of cause and effect. We always forget the position we're in, you know. We just had 2 years ago a bioweapon virus unleashed upon the world, destroying the world's economies, creating a huge bubble, the inflation rates going up. And now
The change of the U.S. presidency.
Yeah, and now people are talking about destroying a country that is very important for the world in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about blowing up the world economic system. Do you realize how the law of cause and effect will treat us? It will mean a huge depression around the world.
We're actually already seeing that it's backfiring on us, right? The restrictions and everything that's being put on Russia is backfiring, and the U.S. has hit the highest inflation in the past 40 years. So you're right. It's like you have to put everything in account. You can't emotionally judge what's right or wrong. And again, these kind of insights come from these books. So where can you buy these books?
So you can find Putin's Real Intentions on Ukraine Invasion on Amazon.com. You can learn more on OkawaBooks.com. The Laws of Messiah is selling at bookstores near you, such as Barnes & Noble. You can also find it online on Amazon.com or learn more on OkawaBooks.com.
We really recommend you reading both of these books.
Thank you very much.